Has this house ever been involved with a sinkhole settlement, ground settlement, whether claim or not, right? And then I have another question, like deeper. Has there ever been a sinkhole claim on this house?
Mm-hmm.
So she had somebody that she was working that did have a sinkhole claim. The house was remediated, and this customer went someplace else, which means what?
I had to have a conversation with the client.
They lied on the application.
And I asked the client, I said, can you bring up the application that the other agent sent you? And I said, read through it real quick. I actually said, do control find and type in the word sinkhole. And I said, what does that line state? And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm not signing this application.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Who is Triton Insurance Agency and what sets them apart? Welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. In the studio today, we have Mike Hills and Tiffany Firlick. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Glad you guys are here as my guests. We've had such a fun conversation before the show.
I can't believe we're doing this on the last day of the month when the phone's ringing off the hook and emails are coming in. Today's the last day of the month, but it's okay.
You have a good team. They're going to help figure this out, right? We won't keep you long. So, there's a million insurance agencies out there, just like there's a million real estate pros out there and mortgage people. I would love to start this particular segment off on what sets Triton Insurance Agency apart from the other people. So who should take that, Tiffany or Mike?
You.
So we have been in business now for pushing 20 years. I would say the biggest difference, though, that separates us from the other agencies is Mike calls us a mega agency. And that's not because we have 1,000 cubicles with 1,000 employees, but that's because we represent so many companies. And if you go to an agency and they only have 5 companies, you're only getting 5 quotes back. So more than likely, you're probably going to be getting a Citizens quote. You're probably going to be getting a Universal quote.
They'll say, I ran you through all our companies, which is only 5, but you don't know that. Ran you through all the companies.
I would love to piggyback on that because what you said is huge right there. And to the layperson listening to this, you probably don't realize what a big deal this is. The more insurance carriers you have, the more options you have, the more niche insurance things you have.
More savings, more options is kind of our catchphrase that we use with stuff because we represent, so we're an independent agency. And when you go to like State Farm or an Allstate or a captive agent, you only get their product in the quotes. Sometimes they have a couple other companies in there, but nothing like we have.
It's close to 60
Allstate, Progressive, we got a nationwide appointment. We got an all-state appointment.
Now, in the insurance world, do you get, and you and I were talking about our mortgage background actually before the show, which was pretty fascinating.
Can't believe we've known each other for 20 years.
I know. And we're just re-meeting. It's crazy. But in the wholesale world, the mortgage back in the day, we were talking about how if you did big volume, right? Like some of the companies that I worked for, you actually could get improved pricing because you sent so much volume to that lender. Is that true in the insurance market as well or no?
No.
Okay.
All the rates are fixed by the state.
I got it. Okay.
Like people say this rate is great. Well, the state approved that 40% increase or that decrease. Everything's controlled by the state.
So there may not be a premium decrease, but we are platinum agencies with a couple of our companies, which means that on the back end, when it comes to the customer service side of things, we do have increased enhanced customer service. So we're a progressive platinum office, which means when we call progressive, we get put to the front of the line. So we get to handle those issues
some of that
a
stuff
lot quicker.
Comes in really handy. It's not just the amount of companies that we have to offer. And auto insurance is the same thing. We got, 18 different auto companies so when we run you through, we're running you through 18 different companies. And we got all fancy computers and fancy rating systems that do all this stuff semi-automatically for us. But one of the bigger things is that when somebody said they want a quote on a house, right? And they give us an address. We can't quote off the address because it's kind of like mortgage. Think of it as like mortgage underwriting. You wouldn't think that insurance is really that way, but we need their name, their occupation, their date of birth, their cell number, which pulls data into the system, right? Yes. Their email, And that'll pull the
Occupation,
claims history,
military status. I mean, there's so many discounts. And like, you can also like mentioning going to another agency. And the one thing too is like, we actually take the time to go through all of the additional discounts. So like, for instance, American Integrity, they have a senior discount. They have a military discount. They have a gated community discount. They have a single entry discount. They even have a discount for when you add a specific product to your line, you get a 10% off the total premium that a lot of people skip over because they don't realize.
So let me piggyback on that because I've seen this very often in our industry where it's so just vanilla, blanket, automated from the insurance application to slowing down to actually figuring out what discount someone is eligible for, making sure that they are insured correctly, right? Like I can't tell you, one of my last agents, I kept telling them, this is not a primary home for me. This is an investment property. I've moved out of this home. That's a big deal because if you have to make a claim and your occupancy is wrong or it's vacant, that's a big deal.
Well, and talking about that is what the companies are looking for is the integrity of the data on the application. There's a thing out there and it's called material misrepresentation.
Did you lie on your application?
Did you lie on your application? Yeah. Now, nobody checks that until what? The house burns down.
Right. Yeah.
So the house burns down and there's a question on there, right? And it could be, do you have dogs? Have you ever filed a claim before? Right? A lot of them is exactly what you're talking about. Do you live in this is your primary. And it's really not your primary because primary is generally a cheaper premium and easier to get insurance on. And if it turns out there's a tenant in there, could they decline it? There's companies like one of the homeowners companies that says, have you been arrested in the last 5 years? Have you had a DUI in the last 5 years? So they're asking specific questions.
Yeah,
correct.
And one that Tiffany's been dealing with is it said, and every app has these questions to some level. Has this house ever been involved with a sinkhole settlement, ground settlement, whether claim or not, right? And then I have another question, like deeper. Has there ever been a sinkhole claim on this house? Mm-hmm. So she had somebody that she was working that did have a sinkhole claim. The house was remediated. And this customer went someplace else, which means what?
Yeah, I had to have a conversation with the client.
They lied on the application.
And I asked the client, I said, can you bring up the application that the other agent sent you? And I said, read through it real quick. I actually said, do control find and type in the word sinkhole. And I said, what is that line state? And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm not signing this application.
I would lead with, let me ask you a question. Why do you have insurance to begin with, right? Start there, let them answer that question and then go into what you said.
And
it happens.
Yeah.
And we get the same thing happens in auto accidents. You say you wanted certain coverage and that's represented on your auto application, right? So if you think you had coverage that you didn't, maybe you signed an app and didn't have comp and collision, but you signed it. You total your car.
So going back to the homeowner's insurance, what happens when things change, right? Like, so for example, we use the dogs. We said that, and there was something else we said earlier, right? It could be that at the time, or primary residence.
Yeah.
At the time you bought the home or whatever, maybe you didn't have a dog or it was your primary residence, but you changed your mind and then you moved out or you got a dog.
Sometimes it doesn't affect it, but it's always a good idea to give us a call and just make sure that those small changes, it could even be a discount for something. Like, let's say you go out and you put an alarm in the house, but you forgot to tell us about it. I mean, that could be a $200 discount that you left on the table. But things like the dog, we kind of want to have that conversation too. So I don't see myself just as an insurance agent. I see myself as a risk manager. Yeah. My job is not to just sit here and say, here's a homeowner's quote. My job is to say, here's a homeowner's quote. Here's the best auto quote for it. And then we kind of review your entire broad portfolio, and maybe an umbrella policy is something that you need. Oh, do you have that ATV that's in the garage that you don't have insurance on? I like to take the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of closings. So people come to us primarily for a lot of homeowners. But at the end of the day, we want to insure and we want to help you by managing your entire risk.
We want to insure their life, right? Because if it's something major, it can have a big impact.
It also can cause, gaps too. Like if I don't know that you have that investment property and you're sitting here telling me, oh, look, I want a $2 million umbrella policy, but you didn't inform me that, you have
five rental properties,
or maybe those rental properties are, in a certain LLC. And now we have to make sure that your insurance policies are reflected. That's one thing that we see a lot too. People like to buy their properties and put them in their name. And then 6 months later, they switch them to an LLC or put them in a trust. and people forget to call their insurance agent.
There's no insurable interest then.
That's a big one.
I just had this whole
Katrina Madewell and then Katrina Madewell LLC.
Right.
Two different entities.
Correct.
They are totally
different tax IDs, different
people
entities.
don't think about that, but it's like that's how. And the applications also say under any material change on the home or occupancy, you need to inform your agent. And every month we get people that'll call us and I go, hey, we just got done with the renovations. Oh, what'd you do? Right? And they go, well, we went from 2,000 square foot to 3,500 square foot and put an addition on the back of the house.
You need to insure that.
And your insurance, once you're doing that's structural, right? That's structural. So right then the policy stopped working. And they should have been put into a builder's risk at that time, right? They should have been put into a builder's risk. Once the work is done, then put them back into a different policy.
People don't realize a lot of those big things that change along the way.
Yeah.
Different things you change. Obviously, most people take title or buy a property in their name personally, because if they're getting a mortgage, the banks don't want to lend to an LLC. They want to lend to you as a person with a credit score.
We see it a lot.
Flip it after.
Yeah, they change it after, and there's other risk associated with that, right? The due on sale clauses and all that stuff. But the insurance is a big piece that people don't think about.
And as long as the mortgage company's still getting their payment, they don't care if it's an LLC, and they're not really checking it. But
they should be listed as an additional insured.
They should be.
Yeah, definitely. That's a huge tip. That's a big takeaway, I think, for this particular show is if your entity changes, don't forget to change your insurance.
Yeah. And no one's sitting there, like when you go to sign off in the entity, no one's sitting there reminding you, call your insurance broker. Nobody reminds you about that stuff.
Well, I think the big takeaway also for people, especially like people buying a new house should be, it's the devil's in the details. And like you could shoot an email out to 10 agents going, I need a quote on this house. First of all, 5 of them will probably blow you off, right? 1 will pick up the phone and call you, right? 2 of them will give a quote, right?
Without even speaking to you.
Without even knowing any of that information, just based off the address of the house. And they'll bluff their way through the app and have an app that's potentially dangerous.
So this is how they get their quote is they do a quick fabrication on the app. Yep. You have to have an app to get
it. Date of birth is 01012,000.
With a few questions and stuff, but it's like.
That's the other thing. Your insurance score is a huge, huge factor. Like I will not start a quote until I have their name, date of birth, prior address, and then how they're going to occupy it. But like all those details, like I did one yesterday and their insurance score, it was $3,300. And when I ran their insurance score, it went up to almost $6,000.
Wow.
Yes.
So why did it change so much?
So it's a factor. So they don't necessarily use like your FICO score, but what they're looking at is, have you had claims? Have you had a lapse in coverage? Do you pay your bills on time? Has your stuff lapsed? It's a huge, they look at your risk and they see whether or not, are you going to be a client who's going to file a claim next year? Or are you going to be a client who doesn't pay their bills? So they're judging you based on character as well. And it's a huge, it can be a discount. So it can go the other way too. So I've seen it where it goes from $4,000 down to $2,000 because they have an amazing rock star insurance score.
And it's a soft pull on credit. It doesn't affect their score too. That's another thing.
It's for years I've been a Ramsey Trusted Pro. And so if you're familiar with him, you might remember it talks about no credit score, right? Don't have anything. And I tell my clients, don't do that because if your credit score goes away, it impacts stuff like your insurance premiums and things like that.
Everything's based on your credit score.
Just get a credit card that you pay off every month. Get something so your credit score does not disappear.
We see that a lot though, because we'll be like, oh, well, the neighbors next door, they're paying $2,000. And I'll be like, well, you've had 3 claims. You ran over your neighbor's mailbox last month and you try to file a claim on that. You lapsed 3 policies.
Want to hear a funny story real quick? I got a panic phone call from a customer a little while ago. She called and she's got done with her goat yoga class, right? And she got in her car and it was a Hummer. And she called me and she goes, I ran over 46 mailboxes. And I'm like, what do you mean you ran over 46? How could you possibly run over 46 mailboxes? And it turned out it was after she took a deep breath and told me it wasn't 46 mailboxes down the street. It was the HOA's
the mailbox station.
And she ran over all. So we deal with some crazy claims and it's scary. It's especially somebody auto. We can come back and talk about that in a second.
As we wrap up,
what to do in an auto accident or what to do when you do have a claim.
As we wrap up this segment, what type of insurance do you guys do? Homeowners, car?
We do everything aside from health and life. So commercial, auto, home, flood, everything aside from health and life.
Workers' comp.
All right.
Builder's risk is the big thing. After the hurricanes last year, all those houses that got wiped out, builder's risk was a big play. Still is.
This is Katrina Madewell. We're here in the studio with Triton Insurance Agency. Stick around.